Hey Comic-Con Crusaders, welcome back to the BentBox Comics YouTube channel. I'm finally back at my house after a long, crazy weekend of our first Comic-Con ever. So we've been teasing it for a while now, but we finally actually did the con at the arcade at Dave & Buster's in Fort Myers, Florida. It's been a long time coming. It was one of those things where it kind of snowballed into this idea that ended up actually becoming something that might actually happen, which is rarely the case. Typically I'm an idea guy, so typically I'm used to my ideas that I find just genius, just, oh man, this would be a really cool idea, never happening. So I'm just used to that. But this is one of those rare times where it actually came true. So a little background, I went to a Dave & Buster's, the local one near my house, last year sometime, saw that they had a function room. Now the function room is by no means large. It's made specifically for like corporate events or birthday parties or stuff like that with smaller groups. But having done a handful of cons and having done a little bit of research as to what goes into a con, what's all involved with setting up the room, the average like price to rent out a room, getting involved with vendors, doing a lot of research in that regard, just because it kind of piqued our interest. John, Shell, and I, who we used to be in this thing trying to kind of progress the company forward in different ways and come up with different unique ideas. So having all of those like ambitions to do different things kind of came to a head when we decided, hey, let's do a Comic-Con. While I'm at the Dave & Buster's, I basically pulled the fake it till you make it card and went up to the front desk, asked if they had a general manager, and the general manager came out. She's a lovely lady named Jessie. And thankfully, basically the conversation just went very straightforward. I was like, hey, my name's Chris. I own a company called BentBox Comics. We're looking to throw a Comic-Con and we're looking for venues. Have you ever considered throwing a Comic-Con at a Dave & Buster's? Her first reaction was like, no, I don't think Dave & Buster's has ever thrown a Comic-Con or hosted such an event, in the 20 plus years I've been working here. And so obviously my natural next question was, would you like to? And that was basically it. She looked back at me and said, yeah, okay. What do you got in mind? And deep down I was like, yes. My tiny idea guy in my head was like, wait, what? We're actually doing something? Thankfully, she was very familiar with Comic-Cons, and she even said, she made the comment, oh yeah, my husband and I love going to Comic-Cons. We're very familiar with it. Because you never know. You could have got the general manager who's 90 years old or just not into the scene, who would have been like, oh, who's a what's it now? What do you want to do? And that would have been an uphill battle. But thankfully, just knowing the term Comic-Con set us off to this really fun relationship with Jessie and Dave & Buster's to be, basically the host for the first ever con at a Dave & Buster's. So that was many, 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 many months ago. Fast forward all the way up till, April, last week. And we're actually at the location. So we're setting up, we're getting all the vendors ready. We're, the night before, it was actually kind of a crazy story, because I was originally planning to have a lot of help for this event. Typically, when you throw a Comic-Con, you have a lot of help. I had zero help. And that comes down to tables, setting up the room, like actually running the con, running my booth, all the different things that I knew I would kind of need to have my hands in. I was hoping to have another set of hands available, and that just wasn't really the case. It just turned out to just not work out that way, which is totally fine, but it just made it a very stressful weekend, especially when it's my first con ever. So not only do I not have help, I'm having to kind of be the ultimate fake it till you make it guy and just pretend like I can do all of this by myself, which was pretty wild. But, spoiler alert, I did. So the funny part about it is the night before we were supposed to set up, there was actually a party, because obviously they can't shut the whole place down for the whole weekend to make sure that the timing works out correctly. So they had a party in there that was supposed to go till 10 p.m. So I told Jessie I would show up at 10:05 to basically set up and be ready for the morning, because I'd have to be there bright and early at the butt crack of dawn to make sure that that would work out. So we get there at 10:05. And thankfully, I did have help from a guy named Patrick. He actually had a booth called, I believe it's pronounced Kamapixel, or Kamapixel. But he actually was one of the few people who reached out. I told all the vendors, like, hey, I'm going to be doing this thing solo. I thought I would have help, but I don't. If anyone wants to meet me and help me, that's local, feel free. So I will say he helped me set up the room. So that was a huge help. Shout out to Patrick. Without him, it would have taken me probably an extra hour. So we get there at 10:05 and the room's still packed. The party's still ordering food. There are chicken wings everywhere. It's a bit of a nightmare. There's kids running around. The tables are filthy. Obviously, nothing is in like the right layout or order for the con. Obviously, we're there to set that up. And I told them that we would handle all of that on our own. That way, Dave & Buster's basically take as much weight off them as possible. We had to sit around for maybe another hour because no one really felt comfortable asking this party to leave, especially leave on time. You know, they were supposed to be out at 10. And it was 11:15 or so, and they're still eating food and just chilling there. And so I went up to Jesse and I basically said, hey, I'm just going to start moving tables. I was like, I can't be here all night. I got to be up at like 5:30 in the morning. I'm just going to start moving tables. And she goes, go for it. She's like, I'm so done with this situation. So I can go in there and just start moving tables. Eventually they see me and they're like, hey man, am I in your way? To which I responded, yes, you are. I was like, yeah, we got an event going on in the morning, so we're trying to set up tonight. So, we wanted to try and get that started around like 10:15, but it's a little past that, so we're just going to kind of move it forward. And he goes, oh man, my bad. He goes, okay, sounds good. He sat there for another 30 minutes, just eating food, not a care in the world. So, long story short about that is it just took us till maybe almost 1 a.m. to set up that room. And then rewind a little bit further, I was supposed to be on TV, and most of you might have seen a TikTok or an Instagram reel that I did where I basically said, hey, there's no video today on this Friday because I'm going to be on local news to kind of ramp up and hype up this event. So the news was supposed to be at Dave & Buster's at 5:30 a.m. until like 10 a.m. We're supposed to do this long segment that had multiple different segments within it, all live, that would be broadcast to Gulf Coast News. And so I'm there ready with the banner, with all the setup. I even had Jesse call in their opening guy to get there early so we can get in early. We were supposed to like light up the whole place. It was going to be really cool. Very excited. I was TV ready. Not a lot of makeup, but I'm naturally beautiful, as you can tell. Didn't need a lot of prep. So 5:30 rolls around and I don't see anyone. 5:45 rolls around. Still don't see anyone. So I decided to call the number that I had. Hey man, what's going on? Are we still on for this? And his response was, oh man, I forgot. Dude, I'm sorry. I'm all the way across town. I can't be there. I overbooked. We're supposed to be doing we're doing a different segment right now. What? Dude, I was, I'll say I was less than enthused. And, but it was out of my control. I took the opportunity to just move in a bunch of our tables and kind of do some pre-prep and I kind of chat with the opening manager for a while, which is kind of fun. I just like people and meeting people, so it was cool just hanging out with him and chatting with him. Even though he was also like, that's crazy that they just bailed on you. So I was up at 4 a.m. Friday morning until 1 a.m. Saturday morning, technically, after setting up. I had to wake up at 6 a.m. Saturday morning. I didn't get home till 2, and then I took a shower and everything like that. And then I had to be back there to help all the vendors set up, to run the con all the way until 6 p.m. is when we closed shop. And then it took me another 2 hours to get the room back in order and to unload my stuff. So I was there till about 8 p.m. Didn't get home till maybe 9:30. I was so freaking tired, but it was a blast. It truly was. It was a ton of fun. I'm very proud of the event that we hosted. So was the general manager. Now I will say, humble brag, a lot of the vendors actually specifically said, they came up to me and said, hey, this is one of the best run events that we've been a part of. It seems very organized. Everything's going well. They're like, you're checking in with us. You're trying to help. We love the incentives that you've put into place to kind of make this as best as it could be. So that made me feel great. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. Like, it's not that hard to run a con. Basically, it's just you got to be running around like a chicken with your head cut off for the most part. I barely sold anything at my table, mainly because I was never at it. I was too busy running around. I didn't have anyone to run my booth, except for my daughter who was there, who apparently she tried for a little bit, which was really cute. But, she was too busy watching something on her phone to keep her busy. Because she came up with me at 6 a.m. So like I'm very thankful that she was helpful. And then the majority of everyone made table. From what I understand, there was a handful of people who didn't make table. And I'll tell you what, like, I don't know if it's common courtesy to do this as like a host of a Comic-Con. I've never been asked by some of the people that I've tabled at their con before, but I went around to everyone. I was like, hey, did you make table yet? And it was like around like 3 p.m. I'm trying to get a feel for the flow and the vibe and how everyone's doing. Now, it might not be seen as appropriate. I personally didn't care, mainly because I'm running this event, and not only am I'm not making money per se off this specific event. I'm not charging people to come in. It's free to attend. My main goal was for this table to do well, this table to do well, everyone to do well, and to make some money and to have a really good Saturday. That was my goal. So I went around to each and every table, asked, hey, have you made table yet? How's it going? I had a couple people say that they hadn't. I'm not really sure why not. Some of the Artist Alley people didn't have a huge day, but they got close to making table, which does happen sometimes. So I'm considering dropping the Artist Alley table vending cost. So basically it was a fun little guinea pig event, you know, like nice little test that I think will just allow us to make an even bigger and better con in the future that I hope will be, once again, bigger and better for not only myself, not only for Dave & Buster's, but also for all the vendors who attended. Now that leads me to the really cool conversation I had with Jesse, the general manager, after the event was over. So everyone packed up, everyone went home. Jesse came in, I'm in there, like passed out on the floor trying to catch my breath. And and so she comes up to me and just asks how it went. She first off came through multiple times. She was a joy to work with. She kept saying, oh man, this looks incredible. How's it going? Is it going well? Yada, yada. So it was a very fun relationship and a fun day to have between all of us. It went very well, very smoothly. And at the end of the day, she checked back in and kind of made a couple comments that were helpful, kind of instructive criticisms in which, hey, I noticed that a lot of people consider this room the private party room. And so even though the doors were open, even though I was on the intercom every 30 minutes, hey everybody, we got a con at the arcade, it's free to event, blah, blah, blah. I'm like basically being an MC and I'm winging it, and it went kind of, it was fun. But they gave me full reign over the intercom system, which was cool. So even though all that was happening, a lot of people, when I went up to them, or if Jesse went up to them to kind of ask, hey, have you been to the Comic-Con happening in the function room? The majority of people were like, oh, I thought that was like a private event. Isn't that the private event room? So either they don't listen to the intercom or they don't read signs, which we know humans. We are humans. We have a tendency to not read or listen. But that made it to where I think a lot more people would have come if it was hosted in a different area. That led Jesse to say, hey, what if we basically blocked off, they have 2 massive dining room areas, basically split in 2. They're like, what if we blocked off the right dining room area for the con, this huge space? And of course, I'm like, yeah, yes, please. It's just more space. It'll make it double, if not triple the size of the original event. Now, it is going to take some brainstorming and some imagination to get this thing to work, because half of it is booths built into the wall, and it's a little weird. Not sure how all that will work specifically for vendors bringing in table and having supplies behind them or underneath their table. So I'm going to be working on that over the next month or 2, trying to figure it out. But all that said, hopefully the next con at the arcade will be coming to the same location. More than likely, we're aiming for October 31st and November 1st. So it'll be a 2-day event this time, themed around Halloween and Day of the Dead. And we're very excited for the plans that we have for it. I think it's going to be even bigger, even better. You know, hopefully we'll have more flow through, because it'll be in kind of the open area that people will just be able to pass through. They'll know naturally to go through it. And it won't look like a private event type of thing. I'm also going to be basically ramping up my promotion for it earlier and trying to get the word out better. Maybe actually get on TV this time. We'll see. Hope, fingers crossed, who knows. But yeah, that was my first time throwing a Comic-Con. I loved it. It was a ton of fun, ton of work, but totally worth it. and it did feel like at the end of the day we accomplished something really cool. I had a lot of positive feedback, and it's funny, as dead as I was at 9:30 p.m. rolling up to my house to jump in the shower to just pass out, I immediately mentally went into, all right, the next one will be this time. Let me see if I can set. I just started going into planning mode because it was just so much fun. I just wanted to do the next one. Keep your eye out later this year for one, and then maybe Jesse's gonna give me names and numbers for all of the Dave & Buster's in Florida. So maybe if you're in Florida, you'll start seeing a con at the arcade coming to a town near you. So maybe Tampa, maybe Miami. So big plans for this. It's a lot of fun. I'm gonna kind of keep the ball rolling while also making comic books. So it's a busy time, but it's fun. And that leads me to my two favorite things that I got from this con. And one is a fan art. I wouldn't really call it fan art. Maybe like a caricature from one of the artists at Artist Alley. Does this guy look familiar? It's so cool. I love it. But yeah, this is one of the ones that he said, it was a great event. He had a lot of fun, and he can't wait for the next one. So I'm actually planning on, I heard some feedback, and I heard that he's really engaging when it comes to like drawing live. So I'm planning on setting him up with a table next time to where he can bring a standing easel and he can draw live and maybe engage more with people, maybe give away some of his drawings with part of the raffle. So that'll be kind of fun. And then the second one is a short comic, like anthology, from Phil Rude, who is a local artist nearby in Cape Coral. So I had seen a lot of these comic strips online, not comic strips, but like short stories on his website, and I'm a big fan of them. They're really cool. I love the art that he does, but they were all kind of separated, obviously, into their own unique stories online. So yeah, I just like him. So he took the initiative, because I invited him to this con. He took the initiative to basically create an anthology of his own small comics, and he got it printed to sell, and it's awesome, man. But yeah, I picked this up. I basically traded him. I was going to buy it from him, but then he said he didn't have Artificial 2. So I traded him Artificial 2 for this book. I might do a review of, I have a couple things I need to do a review of. So maybe next video will be a review of My Neighbor Necromancer, issue 1 and 2, which I just got in the mail from Kickstarter. Very excited. And maybe Phil Rude's short comic anthology called Odds and Ends. It's a cool name for it. Of course, you know me, I'm always on the grind, so I immediately was like, hey, do you want to come to BentBox and bring this thing to BentBox? It's really cool. I would love to have it as on our library, but he's doing his own thing and he's killing it. So highly recommend checking it out. But whenever I do the review, I'll make sure to post all the links and his social media profile, so you can go follow him and maybe pick up a copy for yourself on his website. Highly recommend supporting real artists, local artists. It's just important to us here at BentBox. All right, that's it for another Friday video. Thanks so much for watching and hanging out with me. If you happen to have been at the con, feel free to comment below. Tell us what you thought. If you didn't go to the con, which is probably the majority of the viewers, maybe try and make the next one in October. We'd love to see everyone there. It's going to be a ton of fun. It's going to be much, much bigger. So stay tuned for more of that. All right, everybody. Once again, please like, share, subscribe, comment, all the fun things that help grow the channel. I'm going to try and think of more unique things to kind of post about and discussions we can have, including some live streams coming up once I can finally get my head above water with some of our projects that we have going on. We have a lot going on at BentBox, but that's fun. Fun for me, at least. All right, I will see you next Friday. See ya.